So, are there any other questions?
Have you ever contributed to another internet meme? Like, have you ever contributed to, like, I cannot be sure?
There are a couple of, yeah. I think one of the ceiling cat pictures is mine. One of the ones of, I think there's one that I photoshopped. I may be remembering this wrong, but when I saw it, I was like, oh, I made that. And this would have been in college. I remember there was one of ceiling cat like looking out over an Ansel Adams type landscape with the cat coming in through the sky, and it says like, "Where is your God now?" And I think that was me. There's also a bunch of the ones of Obama throwing a snowball and it hitting a kid. So this was actually the Tuesdays for Dinner guy started this on his site Superpoop, where he did. It was just these three shots. There was just 4 panels, and they were. One of them was a guy throwing a snowball, or it was Obama. It was Obama with a bunch of guys out in the snow, and it was Obama picking up some snow, and then Obama throwing a snowball, and then the third panel he cut in a kid getting a little like a toddler getting hit in the face and knocked over back, and then the fourth panel is Obama just grinning, just having thrown it. And I was thinking, hey, you could put all kinds of stuff in that third panel. And so I started, and I didn't know where this was from at the time. It was just one of those forwarded pictures. So I was like, well, I'll just edit this up. It's some anonymous photo in some anonymous 4 panels. I'll start adding more stuff into there, and I made a whole series of them of Obama throwing the snowball, and there was one of Obama throwing the snowball and a cat getting hit, and then Obama grinning, and then. I don't know if you're taping this. I don't know if what I did with the later ones.
I can turn it off.
There was Obama throwing a snowball and a variety of other things happening.
Doing online? Sure.
Oh, you're not going to make it work. And there was Obama throwing a snowball and then someone getting actually like knocked flying, and then Obama throwing a snowball. And I think I had, there were a couple of intermediate ones where he keeps throwing it more and more, and and then he threw a snowball, and then you see the Challenger explode in the fourth. And then one where he was throwing, I'm picking up the snowball, throwing the snowball, and the third panel is the Kennedy motorcade. And the fourth panel is Obama grinning. And then I don't know, and there was one or two that were after that one, more portraits. And then other people did other ones, with Obama throwing a snowball, and then like the Death Star exploding and so on. And that actually I think turned into sort of a meme. So like it started from the site Superpoop, and then I did a whole bunch of variants on it, and made a page that was all of the variants, and then I've seen other people doing those. And I think if you Google Obama snowball, you get those pictures. So that's another one that I guess I contributed to. Okay, so any other questions? There was someone else back there who was saying something.
I was just to the Randall Munroe 2 weeks ago, and we talked about this process and how iterate on a comic for weeks. How long does it take you to make an average comic?
When I'm sort of on a lot of time I'll have like this stack of ideas that are sort of that I've been tossing around. But sometimes I'll get to it'll be like around 8 p.m. is the point where I'm like I have to be drawing something. I have to have something that I'm drawing now because the comic goes up at midnight Eastern time. This is I know it goes up at 9 p.m. out here I guess. But and so I'll be starting at 8 p.m. and be like all right I need something and like sometimes I'll be at 9 p.m. and still don't have a good idea. And at that point it's not going to be a long comic, but. Like the actual drawing and scanning is about probably I'll do that inside an hour for a simple comic, like one panel or something. More than that for doing the rest of it. Like I'll letter it faster or slower depending on how much time I have. I'll either carefully like rule all the lines and make sure it's all lined up and in just the right places, or I'll sort of freehand it. But so that can take any amount of time. But some of them I'll sort of work on all day and just not be satisfied with the joke and keep on changing it around, and that can take a long time. And then sometimes I just abandon it and come back to it later.
Have you corrected one like at 2 a.m.?
Yeah, I'll do that sometimes when there's a mistake that someone points out right away. Past the sort of 12:30 a.m. mark, I try not to do any changes. unless it's like a math mistake I need to fix, because I don't, or something that I'm going to be emailed about constantly, you know, that is a mistake that something I forgot that isn't like essential to the joke or whatever. I'll go back and change that the next day. Yeah, well, I try not to have too much of a George Lucas-y attitude toward it. Going back and adding the Imperial Walkers to the early comics and stuff. But no, yeah,
That'd be pretty sweet.
Actually, yeah.
The early sketches, walkers everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so I try not to do that too much. I do it now and then, but generally not to like make a joke work better or to make a point clearer, funnier. Like it'll just be like I realize that the one stick figure is missing an arm, and I should maybe add that in, or like. Although actually that one has happened once, and I've left it there. If there's anyone really like obsessive in the comics, they might know which one that was. But, it was the one with Godwin's Law and Hitler talking to his generals, except the Allies talking back and forth about their strategy, except they kept having to cut the conversation short because they kept mentioning Hitler. And Godwin's Law says at that point your discussion is over. But anyway, one of the generals in that is just, he's holding the pointer at the board with all the stuff on it, and he has no other arm. And I noticed that like the next day and just decided to do it that way, so he's the one-armed general. And I'm still debating, there's a haiku proof comic where the guy's hallucinating the math teacher floating above him and giving this proof in haiku. And I was so confident that I knew this proof really well that I didn't bother to double and triple check it, and I ended up with it actually, and it's sort of grammatically convoluted, so I think a lot of people didn't try to follow it all the way through. But if you do, at one point I say, take the factors of the largest prime number, and that is not what I meant to. That is not what I meant to say. Or the divisors of the largest prime number, and what I meant is the divisors of the product or of the factorial of the largest prime number. Or ultimately, the proof also works if you say the product of all the prime numbers up to the largest prime number. But I've been going back for it. I sort of want to rewrite that haiku so it's actually correct. I realized this a few days after it went up that it was wrong. No one had emailed me about it. I guess no one had read it that carefully. It was too hard to follow. I was trying to get this whole proof down into a haiku, and that was sort of an exercise to see if I could do it. And so I want to go back because I could correct it in the syllables. I worked out a correction, but then I kept not being near a computer when I was thinking about it. So now I'm still thinking I might want to go back and fix that. It is a math mistake, but it is something I hesitate to do. Any other questions? All right, so we can do signing books now. And if any of you have any questions that you wanted to ask in person for some reason.